Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up a little bit on Senator Cardin's questions about the UN and what more can be done, and whether there's any appetite at the UN to take on Putin and to basically take the grain out of Ukraine, assuming that the Ukrainians agree, and get it out to the rest of the world. I think we're not only losing the battle in terms of feeding the people who need it, but we're also losing the information war, because what Putin is doing is convincing people all over the world that we're the reason that millions are food insecure. And so what can we do to take a more robust approach to how we deal with Vladimir Putin at the UN? And is there any willingness on the part of the Secretary General or our allies there to really make him more of an issue here?
Thank you. And I think the UN has, and members have taken a very proactive approach to condemning Putin, to calling Putin out, to isolating Russia in New York. We kicked them off of the Human Rights Council. They have tried to regain a seat on ECOSOC. They have not been able to win that vote. So we've succeeded in convincing enough countries to vote against them. So we are succeeding in exposing their behavior and condemning their actions in the Ukraine. So I would say that we can do more. I certainly hear your frustration, the same frustration I feel every day when I have to put so much effort into engaging with countries to help them to understand how important it is that we not allow Russia to get away with what they're doing in Ukraine. And that effort is a daily effort on the part of me and my staff in New York, but also across the entire administration, from the president to the secretary, as well as others like the administrator who are engaging with these countries to ensure that they understand that we're all fighting the same fight and they have to be part of it.
Senator Cardin also talked about the importance of the Black Sea. Senator Romney and I just introduced legislation to require the administration to develop an interagency strategy around the Black Sea. It was pointed out to me by one of the representatives of one of our allies that we would have been better off had we had U.S. and other allied ships in the Black Sea region when Putin invaded Ukraine, that it would have been harder for him to so totally control what's happening in the Black Sea. So can you both speak to why that would be important and how you see that kind of a strategy helping us as we look at the future and ensure that we aren't in this situation again in another 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, we share your goals in terms of making sure that the Black Sea remains open, and I know that the Department of State and the administration is looking forward to engaging with you on the legislation and how we might move forward to pursue those goals. But I do agree with you that we absolutely have to be have a strategy and be more proactive in ensuring that this does not happen again in the future.
And maybe just if I could build on this point about resilience, I mean, one of the things that the Ukrainians have been doing, in addition to planting, wearing flak jackets, and having demining equipment so that they can, have a harvest also for next season, is they've been hustling in a whole bunch of ingenious ways to try to get the food that is trapped out through other means, while the negotiations that the UN is undertaking and some of the other options that are being considered, are pursued. And just the stats on this, Senator, I think are pretty staggering. 200,000 metric tons of trapped, produce and crops moved in March. 600,000, they found ways through road, rail, barges, rivers, Danube, port in Romania, up to the Baltics, et cetera. 200,000 in March, 600,000 metric tons in April, 1.1 million metric tons in May, and then just around 2 million metric tons in June. Now we're talking about 5 million that we're trying to chip away at here, and as others have indicated, every metric ton or fraction of metric ton that doesn't reach its desired end state is driving up prices and potentially contributing to the hunger crisis that we face. But we are very focused with the European Union, who have been doing a huge amount to create these so-called solidarity lanes to ease the customs flow, the border checkpoints, to secure insurance, both for what moves in the ways that they're able to move, but also critically the insurance that's going to be needed once the demining has occurred, if some deal has been struck, or if the Ukrainians decide to move, and the private sector decide to move the trapped grains in other means. But there's a lot of infrastructure investments that we are making now collectively to deal with this crisis that are going to put Ukraine in such a stronger position to be integrated into the European Union as they pursue that path toward accession. So, and then the only other thing I'd add is that I know there is some consideration of changing the law to allow U.S. soldiers to train Ukrainian forces in demining. And certainly it would seem, given the amount of demining that's going to be needed to get the Black Sea up and running again, that kind of adjustment to the law would be warranted.
Well, thank you both very much for all of your efforts, and Governor Beasley, thank you as well.
Senator Romney.
Mr. Chairman.